Hi, hello. I'm Lotus, and currently I have several comic stories I'm working on, but only one that I have a deadline for, so I'm gonna be focused on that until the end of June. It all started in April. Back then, I learned about the Webtoon contest. However, I was too late, as usually am, thus I asked my friend if she would like to take part in the contest with me so that we actually have something before the deadline. Initially, she agreed. I drew some concepts, but during the discussion we realized that we are much better at creating separately. Later on, I learned about the Global Comic Awards contest. That is another comic/webtoon contest that is hosted by Manga Draft and Clip Studio Paint. The theme of the contest was and is First Love. Fortunately, I saw the announcement the moment it was posted, so I started brainstorming immediately. The requirements look simple. I need to create a one-shot story about the first love with the colors of my choosing. The number of pages is limited to 16 plus cover for comics, and for Webtoon, it's from 40 to 80 panels max. When I tried to find any other videos on YouTube about this contest, I found the video where the author explained that they decided to draw 16 pages of a Webtoon, so I guess that's why the limit for panels. Apparently, there wasn't any limit for Webtoon panels or pages back then. I was not lucky at love when I was a teenager, thus I could only think of sad stories. However, I changed my mind. I decided to focus on the first mature love. I wanted to draw a cute romantic story. Usually I'd start from writing the rough script of what I'm going to draw. This time I tried to skip this step and make a brain map on Miro. I came up with a very simple step-by-step plan of what I was going to do, but I still didn't understand what's gonna happen in detail, so I started typing the script itself. After all, I ended up with 9 pages of text, or 1800-ish words to be exact. I realized it to be too long for the comic of 16 pages, so I decided to try and turn it into a webtoon of 80 panels. Spoiler, it didn't go well. To be honest, I have never drawn webtoons. Only sketched some, not on the vertical canvas though. I like the idea of webtoons and how easy they are to read. Nevertheless, only recently have I decided to narrow down my art journey to drawing comics as my main thing, which is why I only knew about the basics of drawing webtoons in theory. It took me quite a while to re-listen to what I do and don't need or should do when I create my own webtoons, and then I started sketching. My first sketches were on paper, but I quickly realized it's not something I can do as easily as with average comic book pages, so I decided to go digital. Choosing a program for sketching was a challenge by itself because I didn't think in advance about the canvas size. At first I tried to sketch on one and only large canvas in Clip Studio Paint instead of creating several pages of smaller scale and DPI, so it crashed. Then I had problems understanding how to place panels, because I knew that some artists use a mask that shows what their readers will see on their phone, but I didn't really understand how to use that knowledge. For some reason, I also considered drawing the panels and putting them all into the frame on Figma. In the end, I simply created a small canvas so the program didn't crash. I watched tutorials as I went, simultaneously scrolling some of my favorite webtoons to see what kind of panels I could find there. Here's what I'd come up with. The only problem is the story went beyond 80 panels and was far from the end where I left it. I tried to shorten it as much as I could, but the story gradually lost its essence with every such try, so I had to return to the idea of toxic first love only for the sake of fitting the requirements of the contest. I guess the webtoon sketches I have now are going to become a completely different thing for the future. At that point, I didn't have any energy or willingness to write a story again, so I started from drawing a storyboard. I didn't want to draw this story in general. It felt too personal and hard to relive. However, I had it resurfacing on the back of my mind every once in a while, so I knew that I needed to tell it. I drew 16 panels and broke them down into 4 phases to make outlining easier. First love, red flags, red fire, and first breakup. Those were completely symbolic for me to remember what I wanted to draw on each stage. Here's the page with the storyboard. Roughly, it's about the first disappointment. Naturally, I wanted to include some of the examples of covertly toxic messages, but it turned out to be very hard to take them out of context and keep the gaslighting vibe intact. But I tried my best. Currently, I'm working on some concepts for the main characters so they don't look too different from one page to another. I'm also learning how to use the tools for comics and webtoons on Clip Studio Paint, and I have a printed draft version of the comic that I can look through. You will find the sketches and storyboards I talk about on my Ko-fi. I'm also planning to post each page as soon as it's finished there for monthly supporters, so if you're interested, see you there.